Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan off Motor City Madmouth. Please be joined by a good crew tonight. Candy, welcome back.
Thanks, Scott. Great to be here.
And JB Ellis will be working another broadcast tonight called Confidential. Follows our show. Welcome back, JB. Glad to have you.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody?
We're doing great. I'm making more progress on my book and took out a big chunk of it today by getting the pictures over to the publisher, so that's good. Now I'll keep working on more projects to get this bad boy completed. Jacob, welcome back.
Thank you. Going to be 45 tomorrow, but it could be worse. I could be the Tigers.
Wow.
Well, all right. Well, you might as well ride it while you can anyway. Meanwhile, looking forward to bringing back another edition of Pundit Pundit tomorrow night and every Thursday night.
He's a callback Kirk Gibson anytime now.
Don't kid yourself. I sent a picture of Kirk Gibson tonight to my publisher, so don't knock him. All right, but meanwhile, Pundit Pundit returns to the network tomorrow night. Keep you posted. And last but not least, George Icorn, GE, we breed good things to life, and you better.
I didn't know what I deserved, Scott, to get that tiger blow there, but boy, that hurts.
We love you, George. We wouldn't say anything if we didn't.
Yeah, well, it just happens to be an untimely night for you, even though the Tigers only win one of three out of the from the Cubs. With that said, we'll get to the main headlines. Just understand that at the top of the hour, we're going to turn it over to Confidentials on Sideline Sports. So once you get done with us tonight, go over to JB, Jacob, George TBD, and whatever else is on store. He has like 45 or 50 minutes to make a decision, so we'll see what happens. All right, well, let's get on to our first topic. Hope I don't get in trouble for this one because there is somewhat of a promotion, but this is, folks, NFL news. I'm not smart enough to make this up. The Tennessee Titans' Will Levis has landed a lifetime deal with Hellman's Mayonnaise. My goodness, if he might, I hope he gets one with a tuna fish company too, because generally I would think that that's what you put mayonnaise on. But all right, Candy, since this is the only time you're going to lead off tonight, okay? It's a food situation. So, and yes, Denzel, get ready to come on next week, pal. I'm looking forward to having you back on. It's just been a tumultuous couple of weeks, so. But get ready. We're going to commit you next week, Denzel, to next Wednesday night edition of Sports Exchange. Candy, the only time you're going to lead off tonight, you make a little sense out of this deal with Will Levis landing a lifetime deal with Hellman's Mayonnaise. Really?
Good for him. I mean, it's a business. He's trying to promote himself, and hey, he's going to get paid for a lifetime from Hellman's. Go for it.
JB?
The only thing that would have been better if Johnny Manziel would have got a lifetime deal with Johnny Cat because he was full of crap. But, hey, good for Will Levis.
I love these comments. That's why I let off with it. All right, Jacob, I can't stop laughing.
It's not for his tuna. It's not for his sandwiches. He puts it in his coffee.
Serious?
He puts it in his coffee.
So, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. He puts
this
it in his
is
coffee.
Not an April Fool's joke, right?
No, it's not an April Fool's joke. No, he puts it in his coffee. And it's ridiculous, and it looks gross, and it probably tastes even worse. But the biggest thing about it is truly, they'll say it's a lifetime deal. Really risky to say that because you could be a Trey Lance, could have a Trey Lance situation, and then of course they're going to forget about it, and it's just as valuable as the paper it's printed on, really. So it will be lifetime if he succeeds, which I don't think he does. But if not, he's going to make a couple years of checks. That's just what it is.
George?
Yeah, when I heard this, I had to take a chuckle. I tell you what, I'm a mayonnaise guy, though. I love it on hamburgers. I love it on a sandwich. And I especially love it with tuna and make a nice tuna fish salad. So hats off, man.
What about your coffee?
Not my coffee, though. Never.
Yeah,
no.
I'm beginning to wonder if this is an August Fool's joke instead of an April.
I know. But I thought the same thing. Jacob just stole my thunder. Yeah, I thought the same thing. These athletes entering into lifetime contracts, come on. We don't know what's going to happen next. Do we have to remind everybody about the guys that have done wrong? Lance Armstrong lost this contract. I don't know. Did Tiger Woods lose any for his shenanigans? Bill Cosby, we won't go there, but So,
well, evidently you just did go there.
Jello gave up on him.
All right. Well, all I can tell you is
Man.
I'm a barbecue sauce person. For a lot of you want to for whatever it's worth, and I put it on everything. I'm not going to worry about the high publicity that a mayonnaise deal is going to get. And if they and you know, from what I hear, Will Levis is a pretty good character kid. So if they want to endorse him for mayonnaise, I've seen a whole lot. You know, it's not like it's a shoe deal. We're talking mayonnaise. And it's only go back to Allen Iverson. Okay, we're talking practice. What do I need? Oh, I better get in trouble for that. Leave it alone. But all right, anyways, it's only mayonnaise. All right. Well, more power to the kid. All right. Well, you know what? This is right up your alley, Candy. So we really got to go back to a second time right away. We report that the Milwaukee Brewers made a strong push for Mets Pete Alonso at the trade deadline. Candy, my goodness, you know, those Brewers are willing to bring out a couple bucks despite an certain stadium situation. But Pete Alonso in Milwaukee, I got news for you. He could hit home runs out there like they'd be shooting off rockets here. So can you imagine that?
The Brewers have been criticized that they don't have enough bats. So why not shoot for, some of the stars? They didn't get them. They're saying that they were close to getting them. The Mets were saying that they were far from getting them. They don't want to give up too much. They got to be smart. They don't want to give up too much for somebody that can be hurt but could make a big difference. So Unfortunately, they didn't get them, but they're still doing good. And Jacob, where are your Cubs in the standings? Sorry, you gotta push against the Tigers. The Brewer fans gotta come forward a little.
But I'm trying to figure what Milwaukee will do in the playoffs. Usually the 3-0, as in the other way.
Yeah, well, we got a little bit of a dispute here, and Candy's sticking up for George Eichhorn, so you better be glad that she is your bodyguard.
But again, they're not Minnesota. Minnesota makes it more.
Well, we're going to leave that. All right. Well, yeah, no, the Brewers are willing to open up their pockets to get them. It just didn't happen. JB?
Listen, it would have been a great move. I can't see the Mets trading Alonso. He's, basically Mr. Met right now. So I don't see that happening for a wild card team to go out there and get him. Because unfortunately, that's what the Brewers are going to end up being as a wild card team. The Cubs are doing what they need to do. But great move to try and get him. It's good to see teams could try and win when they're in that position. Where at the trade deadline, I still thought the Cubs should have just left everything alone. They weren't ready, but they're starting to win games they should. I think they're going to take the division. Sorry, Candy.
Hey, we're still 3.5 games up, so we'll see. It could go down to the wire.
Oh, I love this. This is great stuff. All right, Jacob. I know that we've been needling you. You want to rebuttal all of this?
You needle, I shoot. But still, but the biggest thing about it is you have to wonder how easy it would be for a lot of these players, especially if the Mets are completely out of it. How easy it would be to be able to go to a market like Milwaukee, which it's a sports town. It's a sports area. You have Milwaukee, Green Bay, those areas, and they love their athletes, and they're not as vicious as New York would be. So you have to wonder how much these athletes themselves would think about something like that. They can escape New York media. I mean, mind you, the fans are going to be the fans, but it's not going to be as vicious. And you have a chance at winning. So you have to wonder how many would really think about something like that. Even though you're getting away from the high end pressure, and you're getting away from a high end town, and it's a smaller town. Depends on you. You just have to wonder how many actually want to do that.
Turn over to George.
Well, I give you an A for effort, the Brewers, if indeed those talks ever got super serious. I go back to many, many years ago and John Smoltz for Doyle Alexander. The Tigers got as Jerry Green, our friend, used to call it, the half pennant, the division title. And that was when they got Doyle Alexander and gave up John Smoltz, a future Hall of Famer. But hey, teams have to make trades when they really sense they need to improve their ball club. That goes without saying. So, but I'm with you, JB. I don't think the Mets ever would give him up. Not right now. Like you said, he's the face of the team. Sorry, Verlander. Sorry, Scherzer. It didn't work out in New York, but no, they're not going to let him go right now at all. So, no.
The only thing I'll say about the thing is the Brewers have been known to do this. Ever heard of CC Sabathia? Okay.
Yep.
They pulled that trade off. I think he came from Cleveland and he was a rental for Milwaukee. The Yankees were the beneficiaries later. So, CC got the Brewers into the postseason. More power to them. And the Yankees subsequently won a World Series with them. So,
But that's what you want out of your team. If you're a fan of the team, you want them to go after the best guy to give you a chance to win. So I applaud the Brewers for trying.
right.
Oh yeah.
So just
and
so
JB,
we
you
all-
make a great point, though, because it certainly helps clubhouse camaraderie.
So yes, the Brewers and the Cubs play August 28th, 29th, and 30th. And you talk about the end of the season. They actually end the season September 29th, 30th, and October 1st at home versus the Cubs.
So which one will be Mr. October this year? October 1st, at least.
So, Candy, I guess Denzel Snipes, now that we got Eichhorn in the confidential thing, we got to make our partners the sideline. Schwartz, are you on the hook for a couple episodes with confidential? I mean, why not? This is a good opportunity to make your name in the Windy City.
We'll see. Yeah. Well,
Look
Bring
at
it
that,
on.
JB. I'm doing your politicking for you. What do you got to say about that?
Well, Candy knows
Yeah,
she's always welcome.
No. The debate's on Fox. We're here.
Oh, that's what I love. Okay. Anyways, let me go out there and take a quick pause to let everybody know the Sports Exchange be a broadcast around the world. The audio version of this show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Great way to do it is go through the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And we'll match your topic and put you on that specific type of show. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth. Candy Ebling is normally behind the scenes, but now she's here in the scene. And I'll tell you, she's the most valuable player if I ever saw one, with the magic she does and all the different things she does beyond what she does on the broadcast side. So I'm proud of her. She's come a long way. She really has. So glad to have you here, Candy. Every opportunity we get to have you, because you're a star in a lot of ways, as far as all of us are concerned. All right.
thank you.
Now, this topic has Jacob Christner's name written all over it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start with Mr. Opinion, our new version of Mr. Opinion. Okay?
Let me go get my glasses. I'll be right back. I'll be like this right here.
We do that. Hey, we miss Rick Curdy, but boy, you've done a heck of a job being the new Mr. Opinion if I ever saw one.
Yeah.
But Rick's enjoying life, in California and relaxing. We love Rick, and he's another guy that I've mentioned prominently in the book. All right, Mr. Opinion, as of now, James Harden fined $100K for public trade demands. We're starting off with you, Jacob.
What have I been saying about this guy for so long? What have I been saying? I mean, and here's the thing. JB knows that I started this when I was on sideline 3 years ago about this guy. Well, I started it well before that, a decade ago, when he was hitting 60-point games like it was nothing. I started it then. See, this is the point I'm trying to make to fans. I don't follow along with the crowd like ESPN people do, like you fans do. I don't do that. I notice something, then I'll say it and I'll beat it to the ground, even if people laugh at me. I keep saying this stuff. And by the way, also he's being offered money for Saudi Arabia. You have to go play with them, about $900 million. So here's the thing: it's going to be a little hard when he can't spend any of it at a strip club. So then he might go to China, and he might go to Taiwan. Who knows? But all I can say. Who's been beating the dead horse, then putting the skin back on the dead horse so you can beat it some more? Me. There's a reason. I do it for more than Harden, and I'm right most of the time.
Well said. All right, George.
Harden, not a team player in my eyes, my estimation. He's far from that. I mean, he can say all he wants, demand whatever he wants, but I'm telling you what, he's still not a winner when it comes to obviously hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy. So I am really not a big fan of his either, for all the reasons that my colleague, Mr. Jacob, have just announced.
Well, I'm going to the chat room for a moment. Broadway Harwood, great to hear from you. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I don't think James Harden's figured it out. And just I'll present a little offer to you, Broadway Harwood. If you want to come on the broadcast, feel free to subscribe to for a YouTube channel. That's one way to get in there. We've had a lot of people come from LinkedIn, and come on, and you'd be the latest one. We'd love to have you on. So I appreciate your input here for sure. All right, JB.
Listen, James Harden is James Harden. He just doesn't care about teams. He cares about James Harden.
Right.
You know, but the problem is when you play basketball, there's no James Harden team in the NBA. There's the 76ers, the Houston Rockets, the Brooklyn Nets. There's no James Hardens. So,
Thank
the
God.
guy's phenomenal talent, but never going to win with that type of attitude. It's a shame.
Candy?
Like JB said, basketball is a team sport. You're not the only guy on the court. If you were the only guy on the court and you could beat everybody, that would be a different story. Then you can go out and make the claims that you do. But you're not. You are part of a team. And my question is who wants to play with you? If you're going to go out and make demands like that, who wants to be a teammate of yours? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to be a fan of the team that you're on. I wouldn't want to be associated with you whatsoever. It's my opinion.
Me personally, I'd like to fine him $1 million because he's toxic everywhere he goes and he burns his bridges. So if indeed he doesn't get what he wants, that's okay. They can fine him, do whatever they need to do, and they're not paying him for games. I guess if he can afford to not get paid this year, more power to him. I don't care. I mean, you don't want to play there. We don't want a guy who's only playing half-hearted like he did when he forced his way out of Houston to get to Brooklyn. I don't want a 50% James Harden. I just say stay home and get fined and lose game checks. I mean, at some point you're going to figure it out. Maybe we'll just call you the next Latrell Sprewell. To me, I don't have enough money to go out there and feed my family. Well, James Harden, once upon a time, this guy he had it and he doesn't have it. So, sit it out.
Well, what got me so angry, I remember this, maybe it's my ego on this one, but what got me so angry with the situation was I had the Philadelphia 76ers to win the title the year that he came in. And then I had to shut that down because I have a conscience and I know that I wasn't going to change my mind on Harden. And he was going to be garbage in a big situation. Which, guess who? Tatum wasn't too thrilled with me on that one. You know that, JB. And it's like, he wasn't thrilled on that, but I'm like, because I've been picking them all year long, and I was like, he's going to burn it, he's going to ruin it, and he burned and ruined them.
I mean, the guy's titleless. He hadn't won anything. Everywhere he's gone, not like you haven't surrounded the guy with talent. Couldn't win in Oklahoma City. And I actually thought the team that he was on in Oklahoma City had a chance to win it all. He had a good nucleus around him. Who did he have? He had Russell Westbrook. Yeah. And who was the other guy? I'm trying to remember. I don't know. They had like 3 guys that did well, but unfortunately it never worked out there. All right. Everybody have their say about this one? I miss anybody?
Half-hearted? No, he isn't half-hearted. He's half-hearted.
There you go. Love that analogy.
Well, not after the fat suit.
Oh.
Listen, there's not much to say about people that don't want to win, that just care about themselves in a team game. Listen, there's ways to handle that you don't want to be on a team. Once you make it public, you lowered your stock and you made it more difficult for the team to trade you. These athletes don't understand that.
And good point, JB, because Terrell Owens never helped himself either. And it got to a point where nobody wanted him. He was a problem.
That's right.
And Terrell Owens, Latrell Sprewell, James Harden. Do I have to say a whole lot more? Probably not. About this, we're going to go to another major sport. We call it the NHL. Okay. So here's a cool story. The NHL and the NHLPA are working on international competition for 2025. Okay. You know what, Jacob? We'll start with you and then we'll work around that way.
All right. So go through the story. Because I'm just first because I can listen to this. You said they're going through international competition, like they're going to be playing them, or?
Yeah, well, no, the NHL and the NHLP are working on international competition for 2025. See, a lot of people that understand. Let me preface this a little bit, okay? George and I might be able to do a lot more than most people. Maybe JB might. Remember a long time ago, George, I think it was 72, where you had the Canadians against the Russians and
Yeah.
the big
Oh, you're talking about like exhibitions.
international competition.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I know what you're saying
and
now.
then they
Okay.
continued to build that through whether it was the Olympic stuff and
Right.
then other different sorts of competition where you had, two Russian teams making a tool. So I've always thought international competition was great.
Rendezvous. One of them was called Rendezvous.
Right.
Well,
Well,
yeah, I remember that.
So, anyways, I'm just trying to preface it first, Jacob, because obviously
Yeah,
this should give you an idea
that's-
that the NHL does a really good job trying to
Yeah.
play international competition. I mean, George and I go back obviously the longest, and we know the history. But what are
Oh,
your
yeah.
thoughts about them trying to enhance what they're doing internationally?
1976, Philadelphia faces the Russians.
Oh, I
And they
remember
kicked the
that
crap
one.
out of the thing. And it's like, but the thing is, you also had a couple of different styles.
Right.
This is the thing. You had a couple of different styles. You have the Broad Street Bullies versus the absolute sleek and quick Russians. All offensive-minded Russians. You had to, and everything like that. And they would go to Philadelphia. And it's like, and it's USA. Different time right now with this. In the fact that it's like I feel like the last time we've had that kind of love with the USA was in 1991 in Wayne Messmer with the national anthem, like
Right.
that thing. So it's going to be a little different. Plus, styles are around the same now in comparison. Before, you'd have your style of game, like I said, the Broad Street Bullies versus the sleek Russians. They almost are about the same right now. So, and you're going to probably have some even games. So it's going to be different than it was in the 70s. But I'm happy to see it because we're a smaller world now. It's not just the United States. It's not just something special. I can even see this being more exhibition games out there than they were even then.
Okay. Well, they're trying to work on it internationally. They haven't divulged what it is, but they have a couple of years to figure it out. So more power to them. Well, George, obviously, you probably know more about the subject than a lot of people out there. So why don't you give me your input on this?
For a league that waits and waits and waits, and a players association that likewise waits and waits and waits to make up their mind whether they're going to be in the next Winter Olympic Games, I don't know if I can trust this. I'm sorry, because they have not recently, at least, shown a good record. Now, granted, there's a lot of games that are played there. In fact, the Red Wings are going to Europe to play a couple of games the regular season. So I do give Gary Bettman and the Players Association credit for that. They have kept the American or US/Canada presence very vibrant in Europe. Hey, listen, I mean, we're not doing anything with Russia right now, okay? There's a war. So
Right.
I wouldn't plan anything until that war is done. I'm sorry, because we know that the Western Alliance is boycotting anything to do with Russia right now. That being said, no, I agree with you, Scott. There were some great hockey games and series when they were at their peak, and guys like Guy Lafleur were playing, and Tretiaev of the Soviet Union, and of course we in Detroit were blessed to have the 5 Russians playing on the Red Wings. Thank you, when they won the title. So it is an international sport, no question about it. But I just don't like the recent track record because are we going to go to the Olympics? Oh no, we're not going to. We're going to skip this one. It's not a consistent,
right?
Sign that Bettman is showing as far as international play goes.
Well, Vladislav Tretiak, for a lot of people realize, this guy here, had he have been able to play for the NHL, would have been arguably one of the greatest goaltenders ever. And
Probably the greatest.
Probably the greatest. So
taking Tretiak out was the reason that the United States won in the first place. Taking him out of that game.
Well, call it what you want, but Vladislav Tretiak to me is, I think, the best international goaltender I've ever seen. So, some thoughts, JB?
Anytime you can do something to grow a sport, it's a great idea. Hockey, trying to find something new, going back to international play, brings more people to watch the game. It's another angle to go with. I think it's a great idea. I'm glad they're coming up with different ideas. I know last year they got to deal with ESPN and TNT. I thought that would help the game a little bit more. It definitely helped a little bit, and maybe doing this will bring more eyes to hockey. It's a great sport. Just an update. Aaron Judge has 3 homers tonight, with possibly getting one more at bat. So for a chance for 4, Yankees are going to break their losing streak.
Yeah, what's the score since you brought it up?
8-0.
Okay.
Well, they may, or they give up 9 in the ninth. Who knows?
Well, to add to your
Well, they're playing the
la-
Nationals.
well, to add to what you said, the last time they won a game was here in Miami, the first game of that series. So, the
It's been a
Yankees.
while.
Yeah, it has. I'll probably be writing on that tomorrow, anyways. Andy, I know you're not a big hockey person, but provide whatever input you feel comfortable doing.
So they're talking about a 25 international tournament to kind of lead into the 26 Olympics, the 28 World Cup of Hockey, the 30 Olympics, and then the 32 World Cup of Hockey. So they want to start really bringing the international flavor back. I mean, let's face it, hockey goes back a long time, and if you didn't get excited about Russia and USA back in the day, I mean, you have to, like, all the other sports are doing it. They're all, look at how popular even Women's World Cup soccer was. The more you do of this, the better it is for your sport.
Well, let me provide one interesting note too. Long before the Russians came here, Sweden produced a lot of good players. Borje Salming. I remember when the Red Wings had a guy by the name of Tommy Bergman, Thommie Bergman, who was a solid defenseman. So Sweden produces a lot of good hockey players, and hey, more power to them. I encourage any international play, and I'll be looking forward to seeing when it does happen. Who knows where the war in Russia will be? That's not for me to talk about. I don't get into that stuff.
Biggest difference, though, with this international game is we can be able to see this is when you had Vladislav Tretiak. At that time, it's like he would have dominated the NHL. There's no question about this. And what I brought up earlier was that if he didn't get in the 1980 goal in the 1980 semifinal game, if they didn't take him out, the United States probably loses that game anyway because they got frustrated and took him out. But the point is, if it's this day and age, there's nothing holding them back. There's nothing holding these players back going to the NHL anymore. It's such a different day now.
Well, Jacob, you brought up the Broad Street Bullies. I'll tell you, when the Philadelphia Flyers took out the Soviet Red Army, I was pulling hard for the Flyers. I mean, come on. This was an us versus them scenario, which, by the way, Rocky Sylvester Stallone took advantage of using Philadelphia as a backdrop. And you can rest assured that he probably looked at that game against the Soviet Red Army, right, versus the Soviet Red Army against the Flyers. Yeah, I bet part of the Rocky nostalgia went out there and had a little bit to do with a little bit of this. All right, go ahead, stick it to us. I realize that. All right, I get you. But don't be surprised if that factor. But I was pulling hard for the Philadelphia Flyers to a point where what I'll do is I'll listen to some of the old, audio or video that they have that's displayed out there. And I get a charge over it. I mean, all those hits and them walking off the ice. I mean, that was surreal.
It hurts. It hurts now to see the amount of divide that people put themselves into the country,
right,
because that was fun to watch those games, to watch the USA 1991, the Wayne Messmer's thing, and play people screaming because they wanted to yell over the Canadian national anthem. There was patriotism, and it hurts right now that because it's not going to be the same if you have such a divide over the country. It's not the same as you had then if you're doing international play. I wish we could get that patriotism and love back, but that's just up to people.
Well, bear in mind, too, though, the Flyers were coming off, I believe, back-to-back Stanley Cup championships, I believe, right? So they had a loaded team. And when you talk about Fred Sherrill, obviously one of the best coaches ever in the NHL, that was a pretty good backdrop. It was a really great moment in time. In fact, when I was in Philadelphia taking a tour up the East Coast, I think I went out there and bought one of those, recorders, a VHS. Now we're so far away from VHS, is it called? Of the Russians and the, Russian Red Army in Philadelphia.
Was it VHS or Beta?
I don't remember. That's past my intelligence. That may be one of the few times you ever get a no comment out of me because I don't know the difference. My partner Edwin Hernandez here, where I'm at, every time I get frustrated about a technical question, just sit, Scott, relax. I take care of it for you. You're talking about a guy who's a very intelligent man, a doctor with 12 patents, and he got 2 more in the way. Who's trying to say, calm down? I said, yeah, I calm down. I don't like to lose. I hate this tech. I'll take care of it for you. So if you're asking me a VHS question, he wasn't alive to take care of that one, or practically wasn't much. He's only 45 years old. And this guy's a cotton picking genius, whatever. Hope you're listening, Edwin. Otherwise, you got
straight. I am.
I love thanks, Denzel, for your incredible stuff on here. And we'll go out there and promote the Sniper and the Pundits presents the Top Rope Talk Mondays at 7 Eastern on Sideline Sports. Hey, we love promoting Sideline. They are our partners. Okay. With that said, one more topic before we resort to parting shot. Making good pace here. Former USC star Reggie Bush plans defamation lawsuit against NCAA, restoring a Heisman Trophy winner's numbers and being forced, and he was forced to return his Heisman Trophy. All right, you know what, Mr. Opinion? Go ahead. You get to tackle it again.
I mean, this needs to
get
happen.
You going anyways.
It needs to happen. They need, especially now when you have people making money on NIL, especially now when there's so much hypocrisy and we're seeing it out in and out there. Right now, when a kid from my hometown had to leave school, Jarrell Brock, by the way, I'm thinking about him, by the way. Jarrell Brock just had to leave school because he was doing some gambling, and he was doing it under a different name but taking the money. And this is a wonderful kid who's basically not getting NIL money, and you're a kid that makes a mistake and you're seeing NIL money out there, you're going to try to make it another way. But then everybody else is making money off gambling. So what do we have to say with that? But with all of that said, all of that needs to come back to a Reggie Bush and anybody else that has that thing. It has to. Because otherwise we just have a big, giant thing of hypocrisy.
Okay, George. And by the way, if this show ends early, George, it'll only be because you're going on confidential to help these people out. So, all right, Icorn, have at it.
Reggie Bush, huh? Well, what are we going to do, Jacob? Go back in history and revisit history for all these NCAA cases? No, I'm sorry. Pete Rose was banned for life. You notice that's not going away. I know I'm comparing amateur and pro, but I'm just saying. They're not going to go back and do all that. They slapped Michigan really hard, the Fab Five, and the penalties that they gave U of M, take down those banners and all that crap. They're never going to go back and redo all that. Come on.
I know.
I'm not for it. I'm sorry, Reggie. You're not.
I know. I understand what you're saying.
The ship is sailed, Reggie. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just
let's give the guy a Heisman Trophy back for crying out loud with all this nonsense going. I give the man his Heisman Trophy back. Not that Heisman Trophy winners make it in the NFL anyways. I can tell you how many of them turn out to be busts in the first place. All right, Jacob, I've given you something to work with there.
Well, I understand that it's like the biggest, and I can understand too, George. I do understand what you're saying with that. And the more as the years, see, Michigan, I didn't think much of, like with the Fab Five. I'll admit that. I didn't think much about it. But the more the years go by and the more stories we hear, the more I hate every story from the Fab Five to Reggie Bush to everything. Because I hate them. More I hate that they lose everything because it's completely obvious that there was slimy stuff going underneath and they're trying to cover it up. And it's just, and you're right, George. I'm just saying you're right in what you're just saying with that. It's just the fact that it's completely unfortunate, and they're going to keep doing this under hypocrisy. That's the problem.
Yeah.
All right, JB, what do you think?
Listen, if you break the rules at the time when they're rules, it's too bad. You're done. Pete Rose, that's what happened. That's why he got banned. Barry Bonds, on the other hand, steroids or performance-enhancing drugs weren't against the rules. Different thing. Reggie Bush, if you broke the rules, unfortunately, it sucks. I get why he's suing because it's probably costing him a lot of money, work that he can do for promotions and different things, not having the Heisman and not having his stats.
Right.
But unfortunately, if you went against the rules, that's what happens. We got to accept our consequences. We're all adults.
All right, Candy, final word on this.
I agree with JB completely. There are consequences to your actions, and if people aren't held accountable for your actions, where are we going to be? So I can go out and do whatever I want and there's no consequences? Stop. This society has gotten too far to that you can get away with things and break rules and not have a consequence. I mean, I hate to say this, but and I get it. Parents sometimes take it too far, but the fact that you can't spank your kid, come on. If you've got to teach people lessons, and therefore you have to stick with the rules. You speed and a cop catches you, you're going to get a ticket somehow, whether it's a ticket for speeding or not. Trying to buy out of it or trying to get out of it is wrong, and it's teaching kids a wrong lesson.
Well, I'll just say one more thing to close out this particular topic. My buddy Sal Tartaglia said that Pete Rose gets in the Hall of Fame posthumously. I guess that means dead. So he won't live to see it. And, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. All right, let's go over to parting shots so we can get Confidential going a little bit quicker with the addition of George Eichhorn. Right, George? You will be there. I will make darn certain you will be there tonight. And you're going to be a great addition tonight because there's only one topic to go with. And that's parting shots. I'm going to lead off here on this one. The 49ers are naming Sam Darnold their number 2 quarterback, and the team is exploring options with Trey Lance. According to Ian Rappaport, Lance was the number 3 overall pick in the 2021, and his future is unclear. Well, more power for Sam Darnold that he was good enough to be the number 2 guy behind Brock Purdy. But I guess if you're looking at the fact they have Brock Purdy, that makes you wonder about Mac Jones, right? Because he was that type of quarterback, but they decided to go with a mobile guy. And now here we are, speeding the clock up later. So, I hope Trey Lance gets it figured out and finds himself in a good situation. But unfortunately, this is the 49ers way of saying that they made a mistake, and now they're trying to cover it up. So, all right, you know what? That's my parting shot. Anybody want to comment on this one? Since it's more of a breaking news, I want to incorporate it, and then we'll go on to Jacob.
I don't know. I just think that they have too many quarterbacks. You got to do something. And just the way it shook out, the poor guy got hurt. He didn't have a really good chance at showing what he had. And before you know it, it was too late, and he lost any chance he had to be on the team. I don't think it's a reflection on him as much as too many guys in the locker room, and they got to make a move somewhere.
And JB, let me explain one thing to you. Trey Lance did not have a lot of college experience either. He was trapped in that COVID situation where he only played one game all year, and then he had a season prior. So he didn't have a lot of game action leading into it. But, yeah, you're right, too many quarterbacks. All right, Jacob, do you want to comment on that? And if you do,
I'll comment real quick. It reminds me that that my former quarterback, Trubisky, made a phenomenal business decision, whether it meant that he didn't have anybody for him or did, by being the second guy on Pittsburgh now, that stayed there and got a 2-year extension and for $13 million extra dollars. And guess what? Because Kenny Pickett has 2 concussions, he's probably going to get another one sometime. He's already got a bad ankle. He's probably going to play at least 5 games this year. And that's going to open you up for other people. And see, but a lot of these quarterbacks still have a belief that they are the man. They do have that belief they're the man, so they don't want to lower themselves to this. Truthfully, it would be better to go to a team that already had somebody, but that you have, like Trubisky did with Pittsburgh. Because he got 5 starts last year. Regardless, he started, then they sat him, and then they started 2 more. 3, then 2, and then everything. Guess what? He got to do this, and now he's going to probably start 5 more this year just because of injuries, and it's a brilliant idea. Then you can go somewhere else. There's a lot of quarterbacks that don't have that have too much of an ego to think like that, though.
Well, I'll mention what I mentioned last night on Inside the Pigskin. Jim Plunkett, number 1 pick overall with New England. Moved on to the Oakland Raiders, won a championship. Maybe a change of scenery is what Trey needs. I don't know. We'll see. All right, go ahead, Jacob. Why don't you give your parting shot tonight, please?
Steve McMichael, as Ric Flair would say or Dusty Rhodes would say, lived on the end of a lightning bolt. On the end of a lightning bolt. He carried $25,000 in cash with him at all times. These are all the stories that have been said. He partied for a week at a time. Became a professional wrestler, became a coach. Became every which way whatsoever. Had a couple of crazy marriages, was in the news all the time. He lived like he was going to go to maybe 60, as he is 65 right now. He lived where he's going to live going through as a bull in a china shop and die the same way. This whole situation where he weighs 120 pounds and have a bunch of people around him and holding him up like a zoo animal is out of line. Quit just because you want him in the Hall of Fame. I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame. But I love somebody that lives the way that they want to live. And he did not live to die like this. And to keep him lingering. I don't want to hear from Jarrett Payton. I don't want to hear from Dan Hampton. I don't want to hear from the Wiedemeyer or any of those other Dan Pompei, the one that's been exposing him the most. I don't want to hear from them about, oh, he's fighting. Just got out of the hospital with sepsis. Oh, he's fighting. He can't do anything anymore. He has ALS. You're treating him like a zoo animal and knock it off. I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame, but we don't want to see this. This isn't the Steve McMichael we know.
Yeah, one other point before I turn over to you, Denzel Snipes makes a good point. Matt Stafford obviously got the change of screen. He got a ring, so that's what they made it. Lions made a deal for Jared Goff doing well. That was a situation where it was a win-win deal for both. So, all right, George.
Well, on my parting shot is more of a, shall we call it full disclosure? When you guys are talking about international hockey, and I don't think some people on this call know this, but I was one of the fortunate 10,000 fans that had tickets to see the Miracle on Ice. That's right, in Lake Placid, New York. My future wife and I got tickets, and we went to that game, and it was just a phenomenal game, unbelievable, the best sporting event, of course, I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, I can talk with a little bit of expertise, I guess, on international hockey, because nothing will ever top that and the great job that Herb Brooks did and that team as USA down the Soviets, as you know, in the semifinal round. And we were just lucky to get the tickets because, like a lot of Olympics, you put in what you think you want to go see. Well, then it comes back and you get what they give you. Okay, so you could put down, I want to see every hockey game. Well, you might get 5 hockey games and you might get 4 speed skating events or whatever. So, yeah, we had no idea that that was going to be our ticket, but that was the ticket. That was the ticket that we got. Went to another game earlier that week in Lake Placid. I believe it was Czechoslovakia against Austria. But, of course, the Team USA. And then, as Scott remembers, in Detroit, I was broadcasting back to a fellow named Ron Cameron and his sports talk show. And so I had to run and find a phone toll. I had to call him, collect call, toll call, whatever you want to call it, and give him updates on the game. So imagine this. I'm trying to root as a fan, but then I'm also there as a journalist because I'm running out to find a payphone to give Cameron some score updates. So number one, top item on my list, obviously, of all time, being able to cover this Miracle on Ice. So I just wanted to add that as my parting shot because I know that you guys had some good discussion earlier about international hockey.
Well, it's pretty neat about what you did because number one, okay, you called it in and I was on the receiving end of that call, accepting that collect call.
That's
and I
right.
had to deal with the other guy, Ron Cameron, and you know what a piece of work he is. My gosh. I mean, him and I, when we were working together after you decided to get out of there, him and I had some harsh words, but he wasn't pushing around a young raging bull to be. Like, you were too nice to work with him, and I was anything but. Not that any of my followers would really know any differently. George, how much garbage did I ever take from Ron Cameron?
Very little, if any.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I wasn't afraid to go toe-to-toe, even though I was a new guy in the business. JB, this is probably something you're glad you didn't have to live. Mark my word. Because I don't know if you have any hair underneath that hat, but I guarantee you wouldn't have a beard if you dealt with this character. I swear to you.
Wow.
Yeah, you ever called a piece of work, or because he was definitely not a work in progress.
I don't know if it's work. I don't know if that's the word.
Hey, listen, Jacob, I had to deal with this character, and that's why George left because of this guy. But I was on the receiving end when he called in for Mike Bassett, really special. All right, Joe, JB.
That's a pretty awesome thing, George, to actually have been there. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, but looking at probably my favorite team in all of sports, the Yankees, in the basement, the trash, need to make changes, a 9-game losing streak, which they haven't done since 1982. You know, I remember being young, watching them, and in the 80s, the most winning team in the 80s, never winning anything. They haven't won anything since 2009. Time to just start over and, put together, build up the farm system, follow what other teams are doing. The Tigers, the Cubs, they have great farm systems and great young players coming up, and build something like they did in the early 90s,
Right.
mid 90s. It's just a shame to watch. Hopefully Cashman gets to go on a long vacation with Boone. They can, get a fishing charter, take David Ross with them. They can call it three guys who don't know anything about baseball and have fun.
And make sure to take a Corleone with them too.
That's all right. That's all right, JB. When it happens, you'll be the first one on the list when I ask you who you think the replacement manager. We'll leave that for another show. All right, Candy.
Kudos to Sherry Starr. You ask, who is Sherry Starr? She carries on the tradition of the late Green Bay Packers quarterback will continue on by his wife. Sherry Starr will take over her husband Bart's tradition of writing kickoff notes to the starting NFL quarterbacks. In the notes, she wishes the starters good luck, and in response, all 32 quarterbacks donated their autographed helmets to be auctioned off in the Stars Children's Fund Helmets for Heroes online auction during Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month in September. Pediatric cancer research is still immensely underfunded, said Sherry. I appreciate all 32 quarterbacks and the retired legends who help raise money to fund pediatric cancer research through Helmets for Heroes. Bart would be so happy to know this fundraiser is still helping children with cancer every year. The Helmets for Heroes auction opens Wednesday, September 6th and will run through September 13th online. Proceeds benefit Stars Children's Fund, which supports the research efforts that impact the lives of pediatric cancer patients. One of Bart's and now Cherry's favorite kickoff notes is to write to former Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who was traded to the New York Jets. She said, "I'm going to miss you, Aaron. Bart loved you, and so do I. I will always treasure our special friendship. Wishing you much success in the coming season. Thank you for all the thrills you gave us." And yes, she also wrote to Jordan Love, for all of you that want to know. But kudos to her for carrying on that tradition, because I think that's a cool tradition. And then kudos for all the quarterbacks, signing and autographing helmets for this great cause.
Well, kudos for you for coming up with this parting shot, but I don't think any of us can top that one. George probably comes close. And I gave Jacob an opportunity to vent. And JB talked about it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, and mine was just a breaking news. I want to make sure we are able to update our fans. With that said, I'm not topping that. I'm going to try. Well, what I am going to do is let everybody know one more time that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. So the audio version of the show, the Sports Exchange, can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room is one way to do it, or send topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently, 954-304-4941. Gets it done. You'll talk to yours truly, me, or maybe not yours truly, whatever you want to call it. Okay. But that's how you can reach me nonetheless. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Why do I talk fast? Because you know what? It don't make a lick of difference about what I'm about to announce in the next several weeks anyways. Also, our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter @Tribune South. Candy Heveling is behind the scenes and is a mastermind behind the website. Anything else you want to close it out with, Candy, before we turn over to our crew?
Watch for details. Scott wrote a book. It's going to be coming out later this fall or later this fall before Christmas. Watch for the details.
All right. With that said, right to left, JB Ellis, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
JB_the program on Twitter. Watch Sideline Sports every Tuesday on NFL Alumni Media, or DBTV on Friday nights. Make sure you're watching Confidential coming up at the top of the hour with Jacob as well. And George, I have a feeling, is not showing up tonight, but I know Candy will be there where we're playing the Brewers for the division.
I disagree. I have a strong feeling George Eichhorn will show up. Right, George? Even
You
if I
don't have
cut
to show
the
up,
show
George,
a
if
little
you don't
bit
want.
earlier so that you can accommodate our partners with Confidential. And if George Eichhorn knows what's good for him, he will show up.
This
All
would be
right,
the worst
well,
fight. This would be the worst fight between you two in history.
no, this is
Pressure,
not a worse fight.
pressure.
This is just normal brotherly love. That's all. You haven't seen nothing yet. You should see the pictures we took over at Little Caesars Arena. You want to see a real fight? Oh, that was a Tuesday. I'll put them out there for people to view. Look at these guys laughing at it anyway. He knows that younger brother likes to kick older brother all day long, and he stands there and takes it because we have a blast, anyways. And he's a
Oh,
big part of the book, like the rest of you guys. All right, Jacob, go ahead.
All right. I was just a little surprised. I had a small role in a movie this past weekend. It was, I have a couple lines. I'm playing a lawyer. It's in a movie called Betrayal. And it's a movie called Betrayal. I'll let you guys know when my little part's out, and I'll send it through everybody. Also got a couple of things, scripts I'm working with somebody. Also Sunday mornings most of the time. Now with professor and pupils. Mondays is the off the top rope with Sniper and then Pundit, of course. Tuesday off. Wednesdays, this show here and Confidential. Thursday nights, the Pundit's Pundit. And then when they need me, if they need me, and I'm on the bench sometimes, the Gauntlet.
Yeah, and let me preface this. The professor and the people will be returning on Sundays. It wasn't on this past week. I was in Motown, but I'm looking forward to watching myself, Jacob, and Jeremy Ballrick really do some good things with it. And I know Denzel Snipes will be on some episodes as a program develops. So watch out for Professor and the People. And obviously, that's a show that we're looking forward to seeing it develop. So, with that said, JB, you already said your piece. You did. Okay, Candy, anything else you want before I finalize it with George?
You can sometimes catch me on 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks in Salsa. Otherwise, whenever Scott needs me, you never know. And obviously, when the Brewers play the Cubs, I'll be on Confidential on Sideline Sports.
See, look at it, JB. Got you some people for that show, man.
Of course.
Of course, we got to help our partners. All right, Mr. Other Author. Go ahead. See if you can get these two people to get a book.
Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air is my book. And even though it's a few years old, it's crammed with all kinds of great stories about sports broadcasting. We had some legends here in Detroit and in Michigan. And Scott's in the book. And unfortunately, you've seen a few pictures of me in the book. But all kidding aside, it's available. There's a link at the end of my column. I write for the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner. And Candy puts a link there at the bottom of my column. And you can link to that to try to get a copy of the book, or just go to Amazon.com. And you can find me on Inside the Pigskin and 108 Stitches and the Sports Exchange and Pundit's Pundit and wherever else with good, great programming is available here on the network. So you can reach me too at the gicorn@yahoo.com or on X, formerly Twitter, at SandGSports99.
All right, just programming note, we have 2 tomorrow night. Pundit's Pundit leads off at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that broadcast. And following that fire up, it'll be with George and I. It'll be with Jeremy, of course. And then we're also looking forward to bringing Tori Harmon back on tomorrow night. That'll be around 9 o'clock or so, depending on how long Pundit's Pundit goes, but it will follow Pundit's Pundit. With that said, any closing thoughts, Candy? I just want to let everybody know one last time. As soon as we get it off here, George Eichhorn will, and I repeat, will join Jacob Christner and JB Ellis and Denzel Snipes for a segment, because I'm
for a 5-minute segment.
Well,
bring your wife behind you. Have her say no.
Yeah, no, that's okay. He will, and the only reason why he's going to do it because I'm cutting this episode so he doesn't have the excuse that he can't get there. So that excuse is out the door. All right. So with that said, on behalf of Candy Ebling, JB Ellis, Jacob
Shapiro. I'm Shapiro lawyer.
Yeah, okay, that too. And George Eichhorn, just want to thank you for joining this and this edition of the Sports Exchange. This is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, and we are out. Catch you next week.